Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to day 3 of EGX 2014. Thank you so much for joining us here in the auditorium, and a special welcome to everybody watching on Twitch. For the next 35 minutes, we've got a special treat for you. It is the Comedian podcast with Stuart Goldsmith and a couple of very special guests. So without any further ado, please welcome them onto the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Hello to everybody watching on Twitch. My name's Stuart Goldsmith, and as you've just heard, I have a podcast called The Comedian's Comedian, in which I interview my fellow stand-up comedians about their writing process. We're going to do something a little bit different today, and I'm going to interview these gentlemen up here. So I'd like to welcome them to the stage now. Please welcome Steve McNeil and Sam Pamphilon from McNeil and Pamphilon Go 8-Bit.
Thank you very much.
Hello, guys. Let's shake hands as if we haven't been chatting for 20 minutes beforehand.
Hello.
So, tell us, please, for the benefit of the people here and people watching on Twitch who don't know you, who are you and what are you doing here? You don't look like the sorts of guys outside who are either playing computer games, queuing to play Alien Isolation on the Oculus, nor do you look 12 years old, nor do you look like the traditional game developers. So who are you?
Fair enough. Well, we're a double act, as you know, but for you guys, McNeil and Pamphilon, and we, over the last 15 months or just over a year, we've been doing a live video gaming comedy show. So in London and in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, we've started doing a show where we get comedians to play computer games and a bunch of other stuff. So a video gaming comedy thing. A video gaming comedy thing. Now that isn't what you started off doing. So just so we know who you are, I've seen your shows at Edinburgh for the last couple of years, which have been a two-man comedy double act. You've been doing sketch shows and kind of cross-talk and stuff like that. Where did that arrive from? Where did you guys first meet each other?
Well, we were with the same agent, and Steve had done a show in Edinburgh with Brendan Burns. He played a sort of stooge in the audience. Then we got back to London. Steve really wanted to do comedy, so he spoke to our agent at the time and said, is there anyone on the books who's looking to do comedy? And my agent knew that I wanted to, but was just being far too lazy about it.
Definitely.
So Steve, being the admin hero that he is, collated a load of people, about 1,000, I think.
15. There was 15 people.
Between 15 and 1,000. And made a little web thing where we could all write sketches and comedy and stuff.
Okay.
And
admin.
He turned comedy immediately into admin, and then 13 of the people decided that was not for them.
Okay. So you were the only. So you became double act by default.
By default,
when everyone else left.
Down.
By everyone else not working with us, that's how we became a double act.
Okay. And explain to me what. I mean, we're sort of starting to see it already now, but just for people who haven't seen your shows, the dynamic of the double act is that you're. I mean, which one of you is in charge? Who has the highest status, would you say?
Steve is in charge, so theoretically has the highest stakes. But as is often the way with the double act, I sort of have more luck, so I have weirdly higher status than him in some ways. But Steve should do.
Yeah, a perfect example, actually, yesterday. So obviously, I'm the gamer of the two of us, which we'll go on and talk more about Go 8-Bit, but I think it was on the first day, because we've got a stage here at EGX. And we had a session where we got careers talks. We had 4 people from the industry talking about careers. And one of the guys ran a voiceover thing. And it came up, Sam was in The Archers, which for anybody watching abroad is it's a very popular radio show here on BBC Radio 4. So that came up. So at the end of the thing, this guy who does voiceover stuff asked to have a photo taken with him because he was in The Archers. I didn't realise what it was and I thought they wanted to do a photo. And they basically asked me to leave the photo. So I've been working really hard to create this video gaming comedy thing. I find I'm at Earl's court after just over a year doing it. And I'm meeting the people who are my heroes and they only want to talk to him.
Because he was in The Archers.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a guy for Creative Assemblies. And he actually said, not you, you've not been in The Archers. No. And just made him leave, like that. So and it's funny when you consider all the work that he's put in, that he could be so easily swiped away.
Even in my own environment, when I've created it, I still somehow lose to Sam.
So what does Go 8-Bit look like then? If that's not just a sketch show, is it? Like the previous work you've been doing, it's comedians playing computer games against each other. What sort of comedians? What sort of computer games?
Well, it's evolved a lot because the first year very much was just that. Because we were going to go up to Edinburgh in 2013 and do another sketch show, but it got to May and we hadn't written one. We'd been commissioned to write a sitcom pilot for the BBC, which didn't get made, didn't happen.
Never do.
They never do. But it meant that we'd been doing all of the work on that. So all we had as an idea by March, when you have to pay the Fringe if you're going to go up there in August, was a list of different shades of white paint. Because I was convinced the idea of a meeting where you had to come up with new ideas of white paint.
That was
names,
that was
literally all to fill an hour in 4 months' time. That was all we had.
It wasn't funny.
It definitely was a list of paint.
I don't know if you've read lists of white paint.
But they've not won any
But they are
comedy
not
awards.
funny.
So we decided we wouldn't go. But at the time, the idea was to have an extra late night show for fun. We thought if we get comedians drunk and stick them in front of Mario Kart and they give each other grief while they play, that should be an amusing thing. So that was all it was going to be. It was just going to be a bit of fun. But then we didn't do the show. We just went up and did that. And so I guess inevitably, being me, that ended up being more successful than the sketch shows.
It seems to be a long series of default. That we didn't have that, so this happened. No one stuck around, so I were with him.
Yeah.
So you've ended up in a situation where it sounds like kind of a dream show where you don't need to write anything. You just turn up some comedians and you get drunk, you play Mario Kart. I sort of feel that it's probably more work that goes into it than that.
Well, the idea was for it to be no work, but unfortunately Steve McNeil is involved. So he took what was basically a foolproof system where even I could do it and made it unbelievably complicated.
To organise me being here now interviewing you, I've received no less than 24 emails.
Amazing.
You lucky boy.
So go on. So what kind of work are we talking in terms of, like, are you playing... Just, in fact, let's zero in on actually the show and what the show looks like.
Yes.
Is it just drunk comedians playing Mario Kart?
Yeah.
How does it expand? If we come to see it, what sort of thing can we
Fine.
expect to see?
Yeah, so initially it was that. So the idea is that, obviously we're a double act, so we've been working together, and there's a sort of battle element anyway there between the two of us. So the idea was we get comedians on, and they either play on my team or Sam's team. And so they just come on, they play the game, give each other a bit of grief, and whoever loses, me or Sam, depending on which team they're on, have to do some horrible punishment.
What sorts of thing are we talking about?
We've had lots. In the first show, it was very childish, silly things by the nature of it, and much more simple. So it was like we had dead arms from the winning team and doing shots of Tesco's everyday value vodka. Just really terrible.
It's not a good vodka.
It's not the best vodka.
That was for the winner, or that was for the loser?
That was for the loser, yes.
Okay.
Now, the winner wouldn't have to drink that because it is the worst vodka ever. But they were quite silly, quite childish, but it's become more elaborate as we've been developing the show. So now there was one called Splash where Will, who's from a sketch group called Clever Peter, great actor as well, he's got much more elaborate punishments. Like Splash is the one where he dresses up in a full swimsuit, gets us in a paddling pool, starts to soak us with water, makes it pretend it's snowing, covers some things, big rubber ring. So you end up having to do the whole rest of the show when he's done that to us, wearing this massive outfit, which is so you're kind of stuck on this tiny stage trying to wear. Okay, so they're much more complex and elaborate and much more annoying and tedious and horrible for us to do.
And I was going to say they're horrific to do. They're tremendous fun to watch. I've seen a few of them. But I've suffered the effects of one or two when I stood in.
You stood in for Sam at one show,
briefly,
yeah. So indeed, you know, yeah.
So we're coming to watch it. We're watching computer games, and we're seeing horrible things happen to people.
Yep.
So talk to us about the computer games. You said Mario Kart.
Yep.
That's like a recent version of that, or
we now play the GameCube version.
Double Dash.
Initially, it was the SNES one, but we were playing it on the stand this morning. It's almost impossible. If you're used to modern games, it's almost impossible to steer because you tap the D-pad and it just turns sharp. It's quite hard. So everybody who came on the show and played that, although I thought that would be fun because it's retro, was dreadful at it.
Okay.
So the GameCube one, they can actually steer it. So we have that.
Because none of these comedians are expert computer game people.
Some of them are. Like Imran Youssef, he was a games developer and he was here on Friday and Thursday and did it. So some of them are, but a lot of them are. They are comedians, not gamers. So you need to find games that the audience can actually engage with and relate to and have a fond memory of, but also that you can actually play with minimal practice. So it's a Street Fighter because you can hit the buttons. Bomberman. Bomberman's been amazingly popular, but my favourite one that we use in the show.
It's very hard for me not to stand up and salute when I hear the mention of
Bomberman.
Bomberman.
I know.
It's one of those things. It's one of those kind of games. Before I wasn't really into games for the last few years, and starting to get back into it a bit more doing the show. Bomberman looks like the kind of game I would hate, but God, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's addictive. And Chaos, 4-player. It's 4-player. It's the TurboGrafx 16 version that we're using them. But the best game we use in the show, it was a really weird discovery. We have lock-ins every now and again where we don't do the show. We just get in a pub, invite everybody along, and try out new games to see what's fun to watch and play. And the one that has really stood out, and we've stuck with it, we're still using it, is Donkey Kong Junior Math on the NES. That's how niche the show gets. But
it's a
math. Explain what that's a Donkey Kong game, but it's also a math game.
So Donkey Kong Junior, I guess, is at the top of what is a sort of a jungle world, and he sets a number.
Well, no, that's Donkey Kong himself.
Oh, is it?
Yes. That
oh,
is
I'm
the
sorry,
Donkey Kong.
guys. I got that wrong. And he sets a target, and you have to climb up the ropes grabbing numbers or multiplication, symbols, whatever they're called, and you have to arrive at the sum.
It's monkeys climbing vines doing maths.
It's monkey maths.
On a NES.
It's
sounds.
brilliant.
It is. It's amazing. People get so angry. You've never. It's such a weird thing. Maths.
It's amazing how
isn't
quickly
cool.
people get very, very bad at maths.
Yes,
doing it.
under
Just
pressure.
The
Okay.
pressure, yeah.
Yeah. It's just a room full of drunk people shouting sums at comedians being bad at a game. But it's really fun. If you come along to the stage, I think we're gonna play it tomorrow because we've got a spare slot. So if you're at EGX. What day is it? It's Saturday now, isn't it? On Sunday, then we're going to try to get it on the stand. But it is so compelling. Or get it.
Okay.
You can download it on the Wii Virtual Console and have a go at that game. It is insanely addictive.
So what's behind the decision to use retro games as opposed to games that have just come out?
I think initially, when we first started doing the show, I think we saw it as being a thing for people in their 30s who were hanging out late at Edinburgh. And the idea was the older games like the SNES and the Mega Drive and those sorts of things are things that everybody of our age has got an attachment to. We grew up with them. But actually, we've had kids on the stand who are 6, 7 years old, but it's still Mario. Everyone can relate to Mario
It
or
seems
Street
gamers
Fighter.
know their history, is what I'm sort of learning. Is that,
Yeah.
So they're aware of, like people who are really into films don't just watch films from when they've been alive
Yeah.
or they would have seen when they were younger. They sort of always go back.
Yeah.
And I think those games, there's a nostalgic quality for us and people of our age, but also they do tend to be the most basic, because the games had to be so clear and so competitive and so basic that they just tend to be, they're completely unmuddled.
Yeah.
Even though you have got a monkey doing maths, it's the simplest way a monkey can do maths, I think.
So that they found so far.
Yeah.
Sure. But it is,
Yeah.
it's like the Citizen Kane of games, isn't it? It's like that sort of thing. It's Mario, it's Sonic. The finale of the show, the live show, if you want to come along at 5 o'clock, we're playing it down there. We've, because we should talk about King Rob in a moment. But the finale of our show is Pong. But we've got this guy who has found a way that he can get you all to get your smartphones out. You log into our show on your phone. You don't need to install anything. You just go to our Wi-Fi network. You go to a web address that we give you, and he just beams controls into your phone. So we've had 120 people battling each other at a single game of Pong that they play on screen. So you kind of work in teams, and you vote. If the majority of you guess which way the paddle needs to move, it does. So we can have 120 people all just turn up with a phone, log in, and you can all play games together. So the audience always decide who wins the show because they play the final game.
Sure. Okay. I was going to ask before that, and we can talk about that more in a moment. The idea of the interactivity of it.
Yep.
When you actually did sort of the more basic element of the show, which is an audience watching other people play computer games, how exciting is that for an audience? 'Cause, I mean, that's quite an unusual theatrical experience. It sounds almost gladiatorial.
Yeah, it is. The Baying Mob. Certainly, the reason we put comedians in it initially was we thought maybe it's an indulgence to expect people to pay, buy a ticket to come and sit and watch someone else play a computer game. Although with things like Twitch, people are doing that now. They're subscribing to channels and just watching gameplay. So it sort of is a thing which we weren't that aware of at the time. But actually, just watching people compete is an exciting thing that people seem to buy into. So the comedians thing's become less of a thing. We now have audience members involved in every round. So it's not even about going, we shouldn't be able to get away with this, so we'll make it as funny as we can. Actually, it's just as compelling getting, audience members up to play because people are still as invested in it.
Sure.
People seem to just get excited about the back because you're into games if you come to the show.
Yes.
So it's exciting.
And do you find no, I'll tell you what, we'll come to that in a minute. I wanted to ask you, tell me about King Rob.
Do you want to talk about King Rob?
So King Rob is the other half of a lady who came to one of the few people that came to our sketch shows.
That's more accurate.
And when we started doing the show, he said, look, I've got a couple of, he's a programmer, he said, I've got a couple of ideas which might be good for the show. And they just completely changed the way that the show worked. So the show went from being sort of just basically very chaotic, anyone could do it, play around, play some games, be silly, to having this sort of interactive quality. So now, through his computer wizardry, people vote on who they think is going to win. That determines the amount of points. It's all done on your smartphone. You can play along on Pong. We've done a massive multiplayer Bomberman with about 70 people, but it's really, really hard to do. He's still working on that. I don't know if we'll ever get that to
Well, he built that to test he built that so that we'd break it, to kind of test the limits of what you can do. It's just about smartphone technology. So at the moment, Rob can make things that are more powerful than.
So you've managed to hook up essentially with a sort of developer / crazed inventor.
I mean, he's a legitimate
who's making
genius.
stuff for you,
Yeah.
so that you can play with it and break it, and he can learn from it, and you're show can benefit from it.
We are entirely riding on the coattails of Rob Sedgbeer. Before, it was get some comedians drunk, and it's a bit of fun for an hour. Now it is a legitimately technologically impressive thing because he's created this environment where when you arrive at the show, you log into the show, you vote on who you think's going to win, you score points, you can play the whole show, you win the show. If whichever one of you guesses correctly quickest, the outcomes of all the battles during the show, you win.
Yes, I saw that.
Win a prize.
I saw that for the first time
So
at Edinburgh this year, whereby you're getting people to bid on how many points are available from the game.
Correct.
And we can see live as people are bidding. Is that on Twitter? People are...
No, it's just it's web browser. You connect to our Wi-Fi network, and then he just beams web pages into your phone that then grab data, and so we track how everybody votes and how quickly they do it. And so you genuinely play the whole show, as well as it being a comedy show, and we have stand-up sets and sketches.
It's a similar way that the US spies on its citizens, but it's a much more...
benevolent.
It's a much more friendly...
benevolent.
Yeah.
Sort of a benevolent fatherly dictatorship.
We just want to find out who's got the quickest fingers.
That's all we want to know, for entirely honourable reasons.
I don't think that's what Prism are after.
No.
But yeah, and also it just means, because a lot of people want to be involved. A lot of people don't never sit at the front at comedy shows because they don't want to get involved. They want to be involved and they want to feel involved. They want to laugh and have that sense of community, but they don't want to be dragged up on stage. So this is a real way for people who come to watch the show who aren't necessarily so ostentatious to sort of get really into it.
That's one of the gigs there on the screen at the moment.
That's the mess afterwards,
Yeah, the cast. The
Mirrored
floor
ceiling,
lit
we don't
up
always have a
there.
mirrored
That was
ceiling.
awesome. We had like an 8-bit floor.
Incredible, very nice.
Entirely lucked out. You just happen to have this retro floor. Amazing. Yeah, at the Wenlock in Essex. Lovely gigs. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about, it sounds like this is the most successful thing that you've done from your previous system of sort of default.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I mean, we set the bar low for 5 years, but, but no, it's going really, really well. I mean, it's just every year. We started off in a room above a pub, the Canal Cafe Theatre, if anyone knows it in London, and then the first Edinburgh went well. Then we came back in a bigger place in London. We've been to McCuncliffe for the comedy festival there. With the room this year in Edinburgh was more than double. It was 180 seats this year. It was 73 the year before. They built us our own stage at Earl's Court. Which sounds like I'm bragging, and I suppose I am, but it's only because I really love games, and we've been trying to find a way to make people laugh for ages, and it's just, I'm so proud that there's this thing that people seem to really enjoy.
Does it ever strike you as ironic that you were trying to make people laugh for years and maybe not getting the results you wanted, and then going home and playing video games going, God, what is it? What's the thing that's going to start making this work?
It's right in front of me. It's got to be real under my nose.
Literally. Yeah, it's bizarre. And it just sort of crept up on us, and very, very quickly it's become this big thing. So we're filming a pilot for telly week after next, so we're, kind of hoping...
So tell us about that. Is that the same format? What kind of changes have you had to make from the live show for a TV version?
It's going to cost more.
It's going to cost a lot more.
Well, it's not strictly it's not going to be like a studio pilot. What we're going to do is just film a version of the show in a theatre in London. So it's more of a test run as opposed to a pilot.
Yeah,
okay.
but they've given us there's certainly the punishments. Although Will and Ro, who's the producer, won't tell us exactly what they are. They keep mentioning a snake, knowing I hate snakes. So they've got the money to do really dreadful things to us now, which is truly terrifying. But
and are there possibilities for now or further down the line whereby you can combine the interactive element that you're using for Rob stuff with an actually televised or
that's the idea. So I mean, there are people are starting to do it on TV now a lot more, but I don't think, with the exception of the X Factor, that people are pulling it off particularly, and that's the idea of having an app. The
intention is, we're obviously Rob's already working on it. I don't think we probably shouldn't say too much about it, but we are developing a technology that will allow viewers to watch live or after the fact, if they're watching repeats, to interact and play along with the show and win things. And there's it's real. The potential for people watching at home to not, everybody's on their phone now anyway when you're watching telly, but to actually join in with the show and engage with it is that's the dream. I want that live experience to... Yeah.
At that point, then you'd have to get a second phone because you'd have the TV playing that. You'd be playing that TV, but
and then you
also
need your Twitter phone.
Yeah.
So let's ask then some of the tougher questions. Why you? Why you guys? Why is it? If I'm a TV guy and I'm thinking, right, okay, then there's a possibility we could make this.
Yeah.
Why aren't I going to steal that idea and do it with some much younger, prettier people?
That's entirely fair. It's a good question. And, I suppose on one side of the argument, you can go, well, you you could do that maybe. Certainly up until now, and from Rob's point of view as well, the reason no one's done it before is it's really hard. So to have built the stuff that he has to get it to the point where it's become an exciting prospect, no one else would bother to make something that complicated.
That's quite noble in a kind of way for comedians, isn't it? That no one would spend the time to make this.
No.
So that's where the ownership comes from.
And also because TV doesn't want to touch games particularly, which is why online people watch Twitch and things like that. And I think probably there has been some attempts to make it, but what will happen is that gamers, what I'm learning, know their stuff, and they know when they're being patronised, and they know when something's not authentic. And if they're going to watch two sort of fresh-faced T4 presenters go, hey, let's look at Grand Theft Auto, they're not going to watch it because that's not their representation. That's something being glossed up. That's not their reality.
Yeah.
And I think if they're going to watch a show, then it has to be done by people who love it and have done it and understand that community and how to balance having gamers watch the show and having people who are not gamers watch the show. And finding that middle ground is the hardest thing because it's getting sort of the two sides to unite a little bit.
Yeah, because presumably if gamers want to watch content that's exclusively made for gamers, they can do that online now.
Exactly.
I mean, I sort of feel like young people don't really need TV anymore. I certainly feel people watch it differently to the way I did when I'm 37. When I was, 8 years old. Thanks. I've made a deal. I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Okay.
When I was 8 years old and sort of sat watching, TV on a Saturday morning, I think that's a very different experience now to the younger people, the kids that I'm seeing out here at EGX, who are completely. I mean, it's like something out of a sci-fi movie to these aging eyes, seeing them just completely au fait with control systems I'm not even aware of. So if they can watch that on Twitch or online on YouTube or whatever. So what you're saying is that because you're a bit older and I'm sorry, I've just been distracted by that face. Because you're these are presumably...
That's not the worst one. That could be a lot worse. I don't know what else is on that
some of the
slideshow.
punishments going on.
Yes, they are, yeah.
But what you're hoping to do is bridge the gap, or sort of draw the two communities together of gamers who would be inspired to watch at home because it's something different to what they can get online, and regular punters who aren't necessarily that connected to computer games.
Yeah, it is that, and I think it's more than that as well. It's that... you can do a different sort of thing with the TV budget even now. So, I mean, we did a Twitch stream where we played Mario Kart 64 with the guys from Jinx, which was great. We've done various online things. There's, like, Twitch is a good example, actually. So when you've got people and they're sort of, they're against the green screens, you can see them and they're having a chat with you while they're playing the game and you've got the chat window going on. That's one way of engaging with it. But with TV, you can do a lot more with the screen. And in the edit, you can play around a lot more with how you shift focus. Rather than it be four people, if it's multiplayer, all talking over each other. In the edit, you can bring the mics up and you can focus on certain elements. So you have a lot more control over creating something that is more polished and more watchable.
You can have someone almost, you can direct, the TV director of four people playing Mario Kart can direct it like they are directing the recording of an actual Grand Prix.
Yes.
You can focus on certain things as and when they're exciting.
Exactly that. And that's not to diminish what like we're on Twitch now. Twitch is an amazing thing. I watch Twitch. I watch a lot of Minecraft stuff, and I've enjoyed doing it. And it is a wonderful thing. But there is something else with TV in terms of the level of nuance you can have within it because you have a chance to play with it after the fact. But also, just the scale of what you can do with the TV budget is exciting. And I think the other thing and then I'll shut up because I know I'm going on, is that oh no, I've lost my point. That's embarrassing.
Wonderful.
Hang on, no, I'm gonna find it because it's really, really important.
In the meantime, feel free to look at Sam's attractive face.
Hi, guys.
It's not as nice as it was when you were in your early 30s. It was better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, while you have a think, we should have some opportunity. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes
Oh,
left.
right. I'll shut
if
up
anyone
then.
would like to ask any questions, feel free to ask them through me, or you can come up and talk to these speakers at the sides that I think might be all the way over there. So, in fact, probably if you have a question, just ask me and I'll repeat it for the sake of the microphones. Have a think if there's anything you'd like to ask. Have you remembered what you were going to talk about?
Nope.
But actually, we would like to hear from you guys anyway, just kind of about what you would want to see, because at the end of the day, if we get this away, you would be our audience, hopefully. So any advice that you would have about...
Yeah, come and tell us afterwards how to do it, please.
Yeah, do.
That'd be brilliant.
Has anyone here seen the show? Have you seen it here at EGX or live at Edinburgh? or online. There's a couple of people.
Oh, great. Oh, well, if you're around at 5, come along and see it. We do the main show at 5. We've got stuff on the stage all day, but yeah, come along at 5 and you can see the actual show. And Will, I think you've reminded me of what the point was that I was going to make about the difference with the thing we're trying to do with the telly, which is about it very much. You guys very much are our audience. You are our core audience, and you're very, very important. I think what the TV show does is that broader thing of punishments and having, whether it's comedians or celebrities and things playing it, it broadens it out and makes gaming more accessible to people who wouldn't necessarily come to something like this. Because with the live show, we've actually found, for example, we actually have more women than men come to the show quite often, which isn't necessarily something people always associate with gaming. Although, as you all know, there are lots of women also play games. It's not just a male-dominated thing. But we're finding we're drawing those people in, and also people who don't like games, or people who think they don't like games, even though they've got games on their smartphone. Everybody has these days. They come along thinking they don't like games, but enjoy the show, and then discover actually they really would quite like to play Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and get very excited if they come up. So we're sort of a gateway drug to make non-gamers gamers, I think. I think that's what the TV show can be as well, is giving people a way.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let them know it's okay, it's not scary, it's a really fun thing.
It's going to be a tricky sort of line to find, but yeah.
Okay.
We'll find it.
Any questions? Yep, the gentleman over there. I think we've got a man who can point a microphone at you.
I think you have to go to the microphone.
Oh, you have, sorry, no, you're right.
That's the rule.
I've ignored the instructions. If you'd like to ask a question, I'll give you a wave and you can come and ask us from the mic. This, to me, gives an audience altogether too much power. I'm very uncomfortable.
I'm very
with
frightened.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I grew up watching Games Master, the god-awful bad influence. And on that, Games Master proved that if you stick a celebrity in front of a game, people will watch it. The problem was this was 20 years ago. And as you said, the audience has now moved on and now is embracing the internet. If this was to go into a broadcast environment, would you be attempting to court the X Factor audience? Would you be attempting to court as many people as possible? Or would you just focus on the niche, making it work for the people like us, people who are watching Twitch, and not patronising them, not having to say this is a game on the Super Nintendo. This came out this year, but just accepting that this person's going to know what Super Nintendo is.
I've heard of Mario Kart before. Go on.
Or do you just want as many people as possible to watch it, at the risk of maybe losing that niche? Where
I don't think you're a niche.
That's a really good question. Thank you.
I don't think you're the niche. I think actually you are the gamers are the actual masses who you would want to get into it. Obviously, you can't. There's no point going into a TV show saying, no. We just want these guys here. Yeah, that's not just those people. Of course, you would want as many people to do it, but we don't want to do it in a way that patronises. No. So yeah, you don't need to. I don't think you need to spoon. Because the show is competitive and there's that fun thing about it, it doesn't need to be spoon-fed. Like if anyone can watch the Grand Prix on TV, and at no point does the commentator have to go, "This is a car." And look, that's it, the wheel makes it go left and right. You don't, because you can work it out for yourself. People don't need to be spoon-fed. So in that sense, I think you don't have to patronise the niche, as you call it. And I think you can keep it broad enough, hopefully, that as many people can watch it and understand it.
Because there's the kind of universal misunderstanding that only teenage boys are playing games. And if you look at the people here, the people who were yesterday, the audience isn't that. It's people who've grown up with them and now are in their 30s with children themselves who are playing games.
It's that interesting, and I think it is changing, and I think telly is starting to recognise that, is that the perception is still that I think they think that like the people of our age who are now adults with jobs and incomes and lives, who also like games in the way other people like movies and music and all those sorts of things. I think everybody thinks we're still all 13, but we're not. We're all adults now, and we're all normal people with balanced lives who are doing things. And I think the people who maybe aren't as engaged with that community don't realise that we've grown up. And I know, the industry has a lot of problems, the Gamergate and all these sorts of things are still going on, and there is still an adolescence to the industry in terms of the way it's perceived a lot of the time in the media. But as Sam says, we're not the niche. We need to open the show out to other people, because telly, they advertise, and they need to, they can't make a show that 30 people like. They want it to be broad, but you are a broad network. But I think the really important thing about what we're trying to do with Go 8-Bit, and to come back to why we're doing it, Everybody involved in the show cares. Although Sam, for the last 15 years, hadn't played games, he has a lot in the last 12 months. When you were younger, you had PlayStation 2, you had a Sega Mega Drive, you were Sega.
Mega Drive and a SNES.
Yeah, but also everyone in the show is our two commentators, Paul and Rich, are both gamers. Paul's also really into board gaming. He does Dungeons and Dragons a lot. Guy Kelly, who isn't here this weekend because he's just got married, he can complete the first level of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in under a minute blindfolded with his feet, which he does in the show. Ro, the guy who picked it up and produced it and is developing it for television, is a massive gamer who I play online with. I go in his house, I play games. Rob is a genius. Everyone who's working on the show and is trying to get it made cares. And as do I. And I hope that if they let us keep doing it and just trust us that we know what we're doing, the love that we have for gaming and what we're trying to achieve with the show and what we've already managed to do, if they let us do it, I think we'll make something that hopefully you guys will be proud of, rather than feel like we've dragged on Katie Price to play Tetris.
I was going to just ask. I don't mean to hog the mic, but who is the dream celebs? Who is on your wish list?
People who care. People like Jonathan Ross, Dara O'Brien. We've had some
Charlie
great...
Brooker loves gaming as well.
Charlie Brooker loves gaming. We've had like Brendan Burns, amazing stand-up, who is the reason I started in comedy. He did the show. He's a massive gamer. John Robertson.
Just thinking, the last show I saw, there's a Australian comedian who works in the UK called Brendan Burns. Yeah. One of the challenges he had to do was deliver his normal like a normal 5-minute stand-up comedy set whilst wearing the Oculus Rift, which was showing him that he was on a waltzer full of flaming skulls.
Yeah. But we had Colt Cabana, the wrestler, came on the show, dressed up as a Pac-Man ghost and pile-drived me.
It was awesome. Marcus Brigstock came and did the show
Marcus Brigstock was great. Josh Widdicombe did the show last year. He was brilliant. There are so many people who who also like games, so you don't have to compromise, because like you were saying about it not being the niche, we're everywhere. So actually there are enough people that would tick the box telly would want, who also care about what we're doing.
Are you able to stand up to telly? Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
Are you able to stand up to TV commissioners who might say, okay, so this is all very well, but on this one, we also need insert name of celebrity who you know doesn't care about gaming and just wants it for the PR?
This is the Office conundrum, isn't it? Where do you live to tell the story that you said, no, I'm only going to do it my way and I will not be told anything? I think that maybe there's quite a lot of people who said that who don't get things made.
Who you haven't heard of.
I think there will have to be compromises, but the people we've worked with so far have been really, really receptive and open, and so far there's been no discussion about changes. I think they just want to put the best show on possible if it goes ahead, and it's about, part of it will be that advertisers want to advertise on the show, and so as long as they can keep that balance, that's the important thing. Mm-hmm. But it's a good point that someone at some point might say, well, we really want to have this person on, and that's a discussion we'd have to have at that time.
Yeah. The hope would, and to date the hope is that if they say we need this person to do it because demographic, hopefully we can find a way that we can find somebody who will buy into what we do
and yet also be a gamer.
Can do the job they need it to, because it's show business, it's a business thing, but hopefully also have that spirit that we have to.
We've probably got time for one more audience question, if anyone has one. If not, there's some other stuff I can happily ask. You moved your hand there, our original questioner. You're welcome to ask another one if you have one. I thought you were like, I don't want to overdo it. So what's your experience been at EGX then, just to wrap up? How have the last few days gone for you?
It's been awesome. It's been great. I was really nervous about doing it because I thought it was going to be quite long and arduous, and I thought it would be us trying to talk to about 4 people who...
No one's come here to see us. There's plenty of other cool... If you like games...
No one bought their tickets for EGX kind of going, well, hey, McNeil and Pamphilon there, we better go check them out.
And then maybe check some games out.
Yeah, we'll see some games. See some games. Yeah. But every time we've been doing... we've been working with Ellie Gibson, who's been presenting some stuff on the stage as well, and quite a lot of stuff. And so we're talking to she's talking to developers. And
we had David Braben.
David Braben was on the stage the other day.
Guy made Elite.
So I've learned a lot anyway. And for every session that we've done, there's always been a good crowd. People come and go, and but it seems to be like a kind of a gamer chill-out zone. It's just somewhere where people can go and sit down on a comfy seat and see something hopefully really interesting and something they're interested in.
Yeah.
But it's been great.
It's been really exciting for me to just walk through it today and see, come in, see you guys setting up, walk around, do a lap of the convention. I've never been to one of these before. Right. And then go back along and just see it rammed, and a kid trying to balance a tray full of plastic glasses, champagne flutes, whilst trying to cope with an Oculus roller coaster. So thanks very much. I think that's all we've got time for, guys.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to say as a final sign-off?
No, I just thank you very much. And if you are here today, come along. If you're watching and you're going to be here tomorrow, please come along and see it. If not, well, I guess go to go8bit.com. That's our website if you want to find out more about what we do, and that's always got the listings and a lot of other stuff we've done. So if you want to follow what we do, that, or at McNeil Pamphilon, which is very handy back on the screen, go to any of those things and find us, or go8bit.com.
And your live show in London is still happening once a month?
Yeah, next one is on the 5th of October
October
at the Backyard Comedy Club in Bethnal Green, and it's every month.
Terrific. And if you'd like to hear any more podcast interviews with your favourite comedians in depth about their writing process, such as Al Murray, Sarah Millican, Rod Gilbert, all manner of people like that, you can go to comedianscomedian.com. I've been Stuart Goldsmith. Let's hear it for McNeil and Pamphilon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you so much, guys. That was awesome. We have Shadow of Mordor up next at 2 p.m, so hopefully I'll see a few of you back there for that. And thank you very much for coming along. Thank you.